Millionaire sees waitress lets her disabled son lead a dance move, and his life changes. The gala sparkled with chandeliers and champagne flutes. Every detail, from the glistening silverware to the floral centerpieces, screamed opulence. Yet, Nicholas Ward, the man behind it all, felt numb. CEO of Ward Enterprises, worth over $200 million, he stood at the edge of the ballroom, untouched by the glitter he had orchestrated. He smiled at the right people, nodded at the right conversations, but his eyes often drifted to the fringes of the event, as if searching for something he couldn't name. The catering staff moved swiftly, heads down, avoiding eye contact with the powerful elite. Among them was a waitress in a navy uniform, her dark curls pulled back tightly, a small silver chain glinting at her throat. Her name tag read, Mel. She maneuvered through the crowd with practiced grace, balancing flutes of rosé on a silver tray, until she reached the far side of the ballroom, where a small boy sat in a wheelchair, watching everything with wide, sparkling eyes. Nicholas noticed the boy before he noticed her. The child couldn't have been older than 7, with tousled hair and eyes that seemed too wise for his age. The wheelchair was adorned with stickers, stars, dinosaurs, and one that said, "Be brave." Something about the boy's presence tugged at Nicholas's chest in a way he hadn't felt in years. Mel bent down, whispering something into the boy's ear. His face lit up. She set her tray aside and pulled out her phone, cueing a song. The soft intro of a classic jazz tune began to play through the speakers, lost among the chatter. Mel raised her hands, starting a slow, swaying dance, and the boy, with trembling fingers and a focused expression, mirrored her movements from his chair. One hand, then the other, then a shoulder roll. It wasn't perfect, but it was joyous. The crowd didn't notice, but Nicholas did. His breath caught. Something deep inside him, long buried, stirred. He took a slow step forward, then another, unable to look away. He didn't understand why this child's dance, this moment between a mother and her son, was unraveling him. Mel twirled lightly, ending the dance with a graceful bow. The boy giggled and clapped, beaming with pride. Mel knelt, hugged him tightly and whispered something only he could hear. Nicholas's throat tightened. Memories he hadn't dared touch in years began to flood his mind. Memories of a hospital room, a newborn's cry, and the last glimpse of a woman walking away with his child before he even knew her name. He turned to a waiter nearby. "Who is she?" he asked, nodding toward Mel. The waiter shrugged. "New hire, I think. Single mum. Comes in for events." Nicholas's gaze lingered on her. He didn't know what he expected. But when Mel turned, just for a second, and their eyes met across the room, something in his heart cracked open. He didn't know her, but somehow, he did. Mel turned away quickly, hiding the flush that crept up her neck. She'd caught him staring. The man who owned the building, the company, the city block. His eyes had locked onto hers like a question unspoken, and for a moment, she'd forgotten how to breathe. But there was no time for distractions. She adjusted the hem of her uniform, crouched beside her son and whispered, "You did amazing, baby. I'm so proud of you." The boy beamed. "Did they like it, Mommy?" She nodded, brushing a strand of hair from his forehead. "They loved it, Liam. Especially that man over there. He couldn't stop watching." Liam peeked over her shoulder with innocent curiosity. "Is he famous?" Mel hesitated. "He's important. But that doesn't mean he's better than anyone else." "Understand?" He nodded solemnly, and she kissed his forehead before rising and returning to the bustle. Plates needed clearing, champagne needed pouring, and she couldn't afford to lose this job, not after what it had taken just to get through the month. Liam's medical bills alone were a mountain she climbed daily. Across the ballroom, Nicholas still hadn't moved. His mind had gone back in time, back to when he was 23 and reckless, back when he'd been in love with a woman he met during a charity tour in Philadelphia. She'd worked with kids with special needs. Her name was Melody. They'd spent 2 nights together, nothing more. She vanished after that, never returning his calls. He assumed it had been just a passing moment for her. He hadn't known, had never been told. He clenched his jaw. Could it be her? He made his way discreetly toward the event coordinator, a short woman with a headset and clipboard. That waitress, the one with the little boy, what's her full name? The coordinator blinked. I think it's Melody Carter. She's on the temp list, why? Nicholas didn't answer. Melody. He hadn't heard that name in over 7 years. His pulse thundered in his ears. He turned slowly and watched her as she moved among the guests, still graceful, still calm, carrying burdens no one else could see. And the boy, Liam. The name twisted something inside him. 7 years. That timeline fit too well, too painfully well. He needed to know. He couldn't just walk up and ask, not here, not now. So he waited. He watched her gather Liam's chair, say polite goodbyes to the kitchen staff, and begin pushing her son toward the staff exit. She looked tired. The kind of tired that came from years of going it alone. The kind of tired Nicholas recognized from his mother's face when she raised him after his father disappeared. He followed, keeping a respectful distance. She stopped outside near the parking lot, crouched again beside Liam, and helped him adjust the blanket around his legs. The air was cool, and she rubbed his arms gently. Nicholas stood in the shadow of a pillar, heart hammering. He had to speak. He had to ask. But then Liam said something that froze him in place. "Mommy, do you think my real daddy ever thinks about me?" Mel's hands paused mid-motion, her fingers curled protectively around the edge of Liam's blanket. She didn't look up right away. The question hung in the night air like smoke, quiet, persistent, and impossible to ignore. "I don't know, sweetheart," she said softly, forcing a calm into her voice that she didn't feel. Maybe he does." Nicholas leaned against the pillar, the breath stolen from his lungs. It wasn't just speculation anymore. That single word, real, was a mirror reflecting everything he hadn't known, everything he might have missed. He stared at the boy. Liam, his son. He wanted to step forward, to say something. But what could he say that wouldn't shatter the fragile peace in that parking lot? "Hi, I'm the man who didn't know you existed?" It sounded absurd, even cruel. So he stood still, as if moving would break the spell. Mel helped Liam into the back seat of an aging hatchback, her every movement gentle and practiced. She closed the door, exhaled, and leaned against the car, closing her eyes. Just for a moment. Just long enough for the weight of the day to press down fully on her. Nicholas watched as she pressed the heels of her palms into her eyes. He saw the exhaustion, the loneliness. And he remembered her, fiery and hopeful all those years ago, passionate about kids with disabilities, dancing barefoot in the rain after their last night together. He stepped out of the shadows. She flinched at the sound of his voice. "Melody?" Her eyes flew open. She straightened immediately, shoulders tense, every instinct sharpened. "Do I know you?" she asked, voice guarded. Nicholas stepped closer. "It's me, Nicholas Ward. We met 7 years ago. Philly, the Children's Center." Recognition flickered, and with it something else, fear, regret. Her jaw tightened. "What are you doing here?" "I own the building," he said, then immediately wished he'd phrased it differently. "I saw you, tonight, with your son." Mel's posture stiffened. That was private. "I know," he said, voice softer now, "but I couldn't look away. Not because you were dancing, because I think he might be mine." Silence. Her eyes didn't soften. If anything, they turned to steel. "You don't get to show up out of nowhere and say that." "Then tell me I'm wrong," he said. "Tell me it's not possible, that the dates don't line up, that I didn't just hear him ask about his real father." She swallowed hard, looked toward the car as if to make sure Liam couldn't hear. "He is yours," she whispered, "but that doesn't mean you get to waltz in now and play hero." Nicholas nodded slowly, the confirmation hitting him with both relief and devastation. "Why didn't you tell me?" Her lips trembled just for a second. Then she said, "Because you were already gone, and I didn't think you'd care." "I do," he said. More than you can imagine. Mel's voice broke. Well, it's too late for that now. Nicholas stepped back slightly, stung by the finality in her voice. Melody, I had no idea. If I had known... You would have what? She interrupted, eyes flashing. Dropped your empire? Brought us into your glass tower of privilege? Do you even realize what it's been like raising him alone? Her voice was low and fierce, but Nicholas saw the glint of tears she was trying to hold back. No, he admitted, I don't. But I want to understand. I want to be part of his life. Mel shook her head, crossing her arms. You say that now, but it's not that simple. Liam isn't a charity case. He's not a publicity project. He's a little boy with a big heart who's had to learn to be brave every single day. I saw that, Nicholas said. Tonight I saw him dance, and I saw you, his mother. You're incredible, and I don't want to take anything from you. I just want to know him. She hesitated. Her defenses faltered for a heartbeat. He's never asked about his father until tonight. I didn't tell him because I didn't want him to feel abandoned. Nicholas felt the weight of those words. You thought I abandoned him. I thought you abandoned me, she said quietly. I left messages, emails. I even came to your office once. The receptionist said you'd moved, and that was it. I had no way to find you, and I was pregnant, alone. A wave of guilt swept over him. He remembered that year, so chaotic, full of mergers and transitions. He'd moved cities, changed numbers, and in the midst of it all, he'd left behind more than he realized. I want to make it right, he said, if you'll let me. Mel looked down at her hands. You don't even know him. He loves dinosaurs and he hates thunderstorms. He likes cinnamon on his toast, but not in his oatmeal. He's sensitive, cries when other kids get hurt, and he's strong, stronger than anyone I've ever met. Nicholas's voice was soft. He sounds amazing. She looked up at him then, really looked. Something inside her shifted, just barely. He is. They stood in silence for a long moment, both unsure of the next step. I don't expect to walk into your lives and take over, Nicholas said, but maybe I could start by meeting him if you'd let me. No pressure, just dinner, somewhere quiet, just the three of us. Mel hesitated. She turned to look at the car, at Liam's face softly lit by the interior light as he played with a toy robot. He deserves to know the truth, she murmured. I'd like to tell him together, Nicholas said. She nodded slowly, almost imperceptibly. Tomorrow night, my place. 7 o'clock, but only if you're serious. I am, he said, his voice steady. She gave a tight, cautious nod and turned back to the car. But as she opened the door, Liam looked up and asked, Mommy, who was that man? Mel paused, hand on the doorframe, the question echoing louder in her heart than it did in the night air. She glanced back at Nicholas, who stood motionless by the pillar, his silhouette framed by the amber glow of the parking lot lights. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she turned to her son with a smile that barely masked the storm behind her eyes. He's someone from my past, baby. Someone who wants to know us now. Liam blinked. Is he nice? Mel hesitated. I don't know yet, she said honestly, but he says he wants to try. Inside the car, Liam nodded slowly, his little fingers curling around the edges of his blanket. Okay, he whispered, like he was trying the word out for the first time. Okay. Nicholas watched as Mel got in, started the car and drove off, taillights flickering into the distance. His chest ached, not just with guilt or fear, but with the sharp longing of time lost. 7 years of first words, first steps, birthdays, all gone. And now he had to earn his way into a world that had already begun without him. The next day was a blur of meetings and decisions, but Nicholas couldn't concentrate. He stared at spreadsheets and investment summaries, but every time he blinked, he saw Liam's eyes, the same dark, curious gaze he saw in the mirror. At 6:55 p.m., he stood outside the modest 2-bedroom apartment Mel had texted him. He clutched a small gift bag. Inside, a T-Rex figurine he'd asked his assistant to find that afternoon, one exactly like the one Liam had on his chair. He rang the bell, heart thudding like a drum. Mel opened the door, dressed in soft jeans and a lavender sweater. Her hair was down and her expression unreadable. "You're on time," she said, stepping aside. Nicholas entered, his eyes scanning the warm, lived-in space. Crayon drawings were pinned to a corkboard, and a worn blanket with rocket ships lay draped over the couch. Liam was at the dining table, coloring a large sheet of paper. He looked up and blinked at Nicholas. "Hi," he said shyly. "Hi, Liam," Nicholas said, crouching to eye level. "I'm Nicholas. It's really nice to meet you." Liam nodded. "Though you're tall," Nicholas smiled. "I get that a lot. I brought you something." He held out the bag. Liam peeked inside, gasped, and pulled out the dinosaur with trembling excitement. "It's just like mine. I thought you might like it." Mel watched from the kitchen, arms crossed, emotions warring behind her eyes. Dinner was simple, pasta and salad, but the atmosphere was thick with cautious curiosity. Liam asked questions. Nicholas answered. Slowly, hesitantly, a thread began to form. After dinner, Liam yawned and leaned against his mother. "Mommy," he mumbled, "can he come again tomorrow?" Mel's eyes met Nicholas's over her son's head. She didn't answer right away. And then, softly, as if testing the future, she said, "Maybe." But just as Nicholas stood to leave, Liam's voice piped up again. "Hey, do you know how to dance?" Nicholas laughed, caught off guard by the question. "Dance?" he asked, glancing between Mel and Liam. "Well, not very well. Why?" Liam looked serious. "Because Mommy and I practice every night. For my therapy, dancing helps me move better. And I want to see if you can do the robot." Mel raised an eyebrow. "The robot?" Liam nodded with great conviction. "It's the best move ever." Nicholas chuckled, dropping his briefcase by the door. "All right," he said, loosening his tie. "But no promises. You'll have to teach me." Liam's eyes sparkled. "Okay. Mommy, play the music." Mel hesitated, watching them both. The man who had once vanished was now crouched in her living room, arms awkwardly bent in imitation of a dance move, trying to make a child laugh. It was disarming. It was almost normal. With a small shake of her head and a half smile, she tapped her phone and let the same jazz song from the gala fill the room. Liam took the lead, arms jerking playfully in a mechanical rhythm, giggling with each exaggerated motion. Nicholas mimicked him, throwing in his own clumsy flair. The room erupted with laughter. For a few minutes the tension melted. There was no past, no anger, no guilt, just music, laughter, and three people testing the edges of something that felt dangerously like hope. Afterward, Nicholas sat on the rug beside Liam, both of them slightly breathless. "You're a tough teacher," he teased. "You did good," Liam said, grinning. "I give you a B+. Mel stifled a laugh. "Generous." Nicholas's smile lingered, but his eyes drifted toward her. "Thank you for letting me be here." She met his gaze, her voice softer now. "He liked you, that matters." "Do you?" he asked gently. "Even a little?" Mel's expression shifted. "I don't know," she admitted. "It's not about me anymore. It's about Liam. And I've spent so long protecting him from hurt. I don't know if I can trust that this isn't temporary." "It's not," Nicholas said firmly. "I want to be in his life. Every day, if you'll let me." She turned away, swallowing hard. "You say that now. But you have a whole empire to run. Your life is not this." He stood slowly, looking around her small apartment. "Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I've been building the wrong life." Before she could answer, a knock sounded at the door. Mel frowned, checking the time. "I'm not expecting anyone." She opened the door to reveal a tall woman in a tailored coat, her lips pursed, eyes scanning the apartment. Her voice was sharp and cold. "Melody Carter." "Yes," Mel said cautiously. The woman stepped inside without waiting for permission. "I'm Vanessa Reed, Nicholas's fiancée." Nicholas paled. "Vanessa, what are you doing here?" Vanessa's gaze narrowed. "I should be asking you that." The room turned to ice, Vanessa stood at the threshold, her presence dominating the small space. Her coat still buttoned, heels clicking against the hardwood, she scanned the apartment like it was beneath her. Her eyes stopped on Liam. Nicholas stepped forward, his tone low and urgent. "Vanessa, not here, not like this." But she ignored him. "This is the child?" she asked, as if Liam were an object, not a person. Mel's body moved instinctively, placing herself between Liam and the intruder. "You need to leave." Vanessa's smile was tight. "You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm engaged to Nicholas. We have a wedding in 6 weeks. And yet here he is, playing house with some waitress and her—" She glanced again at Liam. "Project." Nicholas's voice cut through the room like thunder. "Stop!" Vanessa turned to him, incredulous. "You're defending them." "His name is Liam," Nicholas said, his voice measured but shaking with restrained fury. "And he's my son." Silence. Vanessa looked as if she'd been slapped. "You're what?" Mel grabbed Liam's hand. "Sweetheart, go to your room for a few minutes, okay?" Liam glanced nervously between the adults, sensing the tension, but nodded. "Okay, Mommy." He wheeled himself down the hall, throwing one last look over his shoulder before disappearing into his room. Mel turned back to Vanessa, her expression fierce. "Get out." Vanessa laughed bitterly. "Oh, this is rich. You've been hiding him all this time? Or is this some con to squeeze money out of Nicholas?" Nicholas stepped between them. "That's enough." Vanessa's voice dropped to a venomous whisper. "You think you can just abandon everything we've built for a mistake from your past?" "He's not a mistake," Nicholas said. "He's my son. And if you can't respect that, then maybe we shouldn't be getting married." Vanessa stared at him, stunned. "You don't mean that." But Nicholas didn't flinch. "I do. If being with you means ignoring the most important thing I've just discovered about myself, then no, I don't think we should go through with it." Vanessa's hands shook as she clutched her purse. "You'll regret this," she whispered. She turned and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. The quiet that followed was suffocating. Nicholas exhaled, dragging a hand down his face. "I didn't plan for that. I didn't even tell her about Liam yet. I wanted to—" "You should go," Mel said quietly. He looked at her, confused. "What?" "You need to figure out what you're doing," she said. "You can't just blow up your life and expect to crash into mine. Liam deserves stability, not drama." "I'm not walking away," he said. "You might have to," she replied, her voice shaking now. "Because if this is the chaos you bring, then I'm not sure we're better off with you in it." Nicholas nodded slowly, stepping back. "I'll go for now, but I'm not giving up." As he left, he heard a soft voice from down the hall. "Mommy, was that lady going to be my new mommy too?" Mel's heart cracked at the sound of Liam's voice. She walked slowly down the hall and opened his door, finding him sitting quietly in his wheelchair, the T-Rex still clutched in his lap. He looked up at her with wide, uncertain eyes. "Was she?" Mel sat down on the edge of his bed, brushing her fingers through his hair. "No, baby, she wasn't. She was just someone from a part of Nicholas's life that doesn't belong here." Liam frowned. "She didn't like me." Mel's voice caught in her throat. "Some people have small hearts, sweetheart. Not because you're hard to love, because they don't know how." He nodded slowly, absorbing that in his own thoughtful way. "You looked mad." "I was," she admitted, "because nobody should talk to you like that. Ever." He reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. "Are you mad at him too?" Mel hesitated. Her emotions were tangled. Anger, confusion, sadness, even guilt. She didn't know how to answer, so she chose the truth. "A little, but not because of you, because this is hard, and I don't want you to get hurt." Liam leaned his head on her shoulder. "I don't think he wants to hurt me." "No," she whispered, wrapping her arm around him. "I don't think so either." Later that night, after Liam was asleep, Mel stood by the window, staring out at the quiet street. Her phone buzzed on the table. A message from Nicholas. "I'm sorry, I should have handled it better. I meant everything I said. I'll wait until you're ready." She typed a reply, but deleted it before hitting send. She didn't know what she was ready for yet. Nicholas, meanwhile, sat alone in his penthouse apartment, the city lights sprawling beneath him. Vanessa's perfume still lingered in the air, though her presence had vanished hours earlier. He stared at a framed photo on the wall, him at a groundbreaking ceremony, smiling beside a senator. It all felt so far away now. He picked up a photo album he hadn't opened in years. Inside were pictures from his time volunteering at the Children's Center in Philly, his arm around kids with big grins, candid shots of him laughing, one of him and Melody on a rooftop, her head resting on his shoulder, both of them young and full of promise. He hadn't thought about those days in a long time. Back then he'd believed he could balance ambition with heart. Somewhere along the way the ambition won, but seeing Liam had changed something, not just the revelation of fatherhood, but the joy in that little boy's eyes, the strength in Mel's, the glimpse of a life that meant something more than shares and skyscrapers. He reached for his phone again. This time, he texted someone else. Jacob, I need to know everything you can find on Melody Carter, where she's been, what she's gone through. I want the full story. He stared at the screen, conflicted. He didn't want to invade her privacy, but he needed to understand. Because if he was going to fight for his son, he needed to know what kind of battle she'd been waging all these years, and what role he was meant to play now. 2 days passed. Nicholas didn't reach out again. Mel tried to convince herself that was for the best, that the silence was a reprieve, not abandonment. She filled her hours with work and routine, making Liam's breakfast, helping him with his therapy stretches, answering phones at the local medical office where she picked up hours between events. But something in her felt unsteady, like the air before a storm. Every time her phone lit up, her breath caught. Each time it wasn't him. Liam, on the other hand, asked about Nicholas every night. Do you think he liked my robot dance? Do you think he has a dinosaur name? Do you think he'll come back? Mel would smile and redirect, but the questions lingered, unanswered. Then, on Thursday afternoon, a letter arrived. Not a text, not an email. A letter, hand-delivered, on creamy stationery, embossed with Ward Enterprises. Mel stood in her tiny kitchen, fingers trembling as she opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. Melody, I don't want to overwhelm you, or intrude. But I also can't sit still and do nothing. I'm learning about what you've carried, what you've survived, and the more I learn, the more I respect you. I've spent years building things with steel and concrete, but nothing I've built compares to what you've built with love. I don't want to take Liam from you. I only want to be part of what you already are. If you'll let me, I'd like to try. Slowly, carefully, on your terms. I'll be at the community park near your place this Saturday at 3 p.m. If you and Liam come, I'll be there, with snacks and space for dinosaurs. If you don't come, I'll understand, and I'll wait until you're ready. Nicholas Mel read the letter 3 times, her throat tight. She sat at the table, heart pounding, the weight of the decision growing heavier with each breath. Saturday came. The sun was warm, the sky painted with lazy clouds. Liam wore his favorite blue hoodie and clutched both dinosaur toys, his and the one from Nicholas. Are we going, Mummy? Mel nodded, swallowing her anxiety. Yes, baby, we're going. The park wasn't crowded. A few families picnicked and kids shrieked from the swings. But at the far end of the green, under a maple tree, sat Nicholas. He was on a blanket, a cooler beside him, a small plastic volcano centerpiece erupting red tissue paper. Around him, a handful of tiny dinosaur figures were arranged in a circle, like some prehistoric tea party. Liam gasped. That's so cool. Nicholas looked up, saw them, and smiled. He didn't stand, he didn't rush, he simply waited. Mel pushed Liam's chair forward slowly. Her heart beat so loudly she wondered if Liam could hear it. When they reached the blanket, Liam beamed. You came. Nicholas nodded. I promised I'd be here if you did. Liam looked at Mel, eyes wide with joy. Can we stay, Mommy? Please? Mel looked at Nicholas, then back at Liam, and she whispered, yes. The 3 of them sat on the blanket as if they'd always belonged there. Nicholas had packed Liam's favorite snacks, grape slices, cheese cubes, and even cinnamon toast. Mel raised an eyebrow. You asked someone, didn't you? Nicholas chuckled. I have resources. Liam dove into the food with glee, positioning his two dinosaurs beside the erupting volcano. We need lava sound effects, he declared. Nicholas obliged, making loud bubbling noises that made Liam laugh until he nearly tipped his chair. Mel found herself smiling despite everything, despite the confusion, the fear, the ache of so many years lost. For this one afternoon, her son was happy, and that mattered more than anything. After lunch, Nicholas stood and gently offered his hand to Liam. Want to try dancing again? Liam hesitated, then nodded. Nicholas helped him up carefully, bracing him as he stood with the aid of his leg braces. Mel rose too, hovering nearby, ready to catch him. They danced, slowly, clumsily, joyfully. Nicholas whispered counts, matching Liam's rhythm. Mel watched, arms folded, heart pounding. It wasn't just a man trying to connect with a child, it was a father finding his son. Afterward, Liam sat back down, flushed and smiling. You're better now, he told Nicholas. I give you an A-. Nicholas laughed. That's progress. Mel stepped aside to grab napkins from her purse. Nicholas joined her, voice lower now. Thank you for giving me this. She nodded, her guard still up but softening. He needed it. Maybe I did too. Nicholas hesitated. I meant what I wrote. I want to move forward, but I'll do it your way. Mel looked down. You don't know what that means. My life isn't like yours. I work 2 jobs. I haven't had a vacation since Liam was born. Every choice I make has to be calculated, careful. There's no room for error. I want to help, Nicholas said. Not control, just help. She met his gaze. Help has strings. I'll cut them, he replied simply. I just want to earn a place in his life. She didn't answer right away, but she didn't say no. Later, as the sun dipped low, Nicholas offered to walk them home. Mel agreed. They moved down the sidewalk slowly, Liam between them, one hand in each of theirs. A quiet peace settled over the trio, strange but not uncomfortable. Mel felt it first, the stirrings of something that once was, maybe something that could be again. But she wouldn't name it. Not yet. As they neared her building, Liam looked up at Nicholas. Will you come next Saturday too? Nicholas smiled. If it's okay with your mum. Mel looked at her son, then at the man who had once been a stranger and now stood at the edge of something real. She nodded. Yes. But next time you're bringing juice boxes. They all laughed. But that night, after Liam was asleep, Mel stood at the window again. And in the distance, parked across the street, a car idled quietly. Inside it, Vanessa stared through binoculars, watching, waiting, planning. The next week brought unexpected calm. Nicholas visited twice more, once to help Liam with a school project on volcanoes, and once for a short walk through the neighborhood. Each time he came with humility, curiosity, and a quiet willingness to listen. Mel found herself lowering her guard incrementally, though not without caution. But Vanessa hadn't disappeared. On Thursday, a white envelope slid under Mel's apartment door. No return address. Inside, a single sheet of paper typed cold. You may have Nicholas's attention now, but men like him don't stay. And when he leaves, because he will, you'll be left picking up the pieces. Again. Think of your son. Think carefully. Mel stared at the letter, her hands trembling. Her first instinct was to rip it up, to burn it, pretend it never arrived. But fear was harder to ignore than paper. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every noise outside her window made her sit up. She double-checked the locks. She didn't tell Nicholas. Friday evening, as Liam dozed on the couch, Mel sat with her old laptop open, combing through job listings in better neighborhoods, safer places. She couldn't afford to move, but the letter had reminded her how precarious their world still was. The knock on her door startled her. She checked the peephole and saw Nicholas holding a large brown folder. She opened the door quickly but quietly, glancing back to make sure Liam hadn't woken. I found something, Nicholas said. About that time you said you came looking for me. About the messages. Mel furrowed her brow. Okay, He stepped inside, spreading the contents of the folder on her kitchen table, printouts, logs, a receptionist's handwritten notes. Turns out the messages did come through, but they were intercepted by my assistant at the time. Her name was Vanessa, Mel finished, her voice going cold. Nicholas nodded. She erased your voicemails, blocked your emails. She told the office to say I'd moved to Europe. Mel's knees weakened, and she sank into a chair. She made it all disappear. She made you disappear, he said, and I never knew. They sat in stunned silence. Nicholas leaned in, voice low. Melody, I would have come if I had known. Everything you've gone through, you didn't have to do it alone. Mel shook her head slowly, her voice raw. I thought you just didn't care. I did, he whispered. I do. Before either of them could say more, a loud crash came from the living room. They both jumped. Mel rushed in to find the window open, and Liam's dinosaur figurines scattered on the floor, the T-Rex broken in half. She gasped. Liam! He stirred groggily on the couch, rubbing his eyes. What happened? Nicholas joined her, examining the window frame. This was forced open, he said. Someone was here. Mel's breath caught. Outside, in the shadows of the alley, Vanessa stood with a broken umbrella in hand, and a camera slung across her chest. Mel slammed the window shut and pulled the curtain closed, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. Nicholas immediately called building security and then the local precinct, demanding a report be taken. His voice was calm but lethal, the voice of a man used to action, and one who had something precious to protect now. Liam, still groggy, was comforted with warm milk and tucked back into bed. Mel sat on the edge of his mattress, brushing a lock of hair from his forehead as he drifted off again. Her hand trembled, but she kept her face steady for his sake. Nicholas stood in the living room, holding the broken dinosaur in his hands. He turned it over slowly, his expression unreadable. She was here, Mel said, re-entering the room. You know it was her. Nicholas didn't argue. I'm going to make sure she never comes near you again. Mel scoffed quietly. She's already been near enough. He looked at her then, fully. This isn't just a jealous woman lashing out. This is targeted, strategic. She's trying to scare you. Well, it's working, Mel snapped, her voice rising before she caught herself. She exhaled. I'm sorry, I can't have Liam living like this. Nicholas walked to her and gently placed the broken dinosaur on the table. Then let me fix it. Let me fix everything. She shook her head. You can't. I can try, he said. I'm already having my legal team draft a restraining order. She won't be allowed within 100 feet of you or Liam. Mel's eyes flashed. She's not just attacking me, Nicholas. She's inside this world. She knows my schedule. She knew where to find my apartment. What if she tries something again? Nicholas paused. Then he said the words that had been pressing against his ribs all evening. Come stay with me, at my place, just for now, until this is handled. Mel blinked. You want me to move into your penthouse? He nodded. It has full-time security, private elevator, panic system. You'd be safe. Liam would be safe. She turned away, pacing. You think that's simple? Just uproot him? Change his whole routine? What about his therapy, his school, everything I've spent years building on a budget of duct tape and hope? I'll fund it, Nicholas said quietly. Every appointment, every therapist, every need. You won't have to fight alone anymore. Mel stopped in her tracks. This isn't charity. It's not, he said. It's fatherhood. They stood in silence, the weight of the moment balancing between them. Then Mel whispered, You really mean it, don't you? I do, Nicholas replied. But it's your call. She looked down at her hands, strong, calloused from years of work, and then toward the hallway where Liam slept. Just for a little while, she said, voice trembling. Until she's gone. Nicholas exhaled, relief washing over him. That's all I ask. Outside, in a darkened car parked just a block away, Vanessa watched them through the zoom lens of her camera. She pressed a button, snapping a picture of the broken window, and smiled. Moving day arrived faster than Mel anticipated. Nicholas had handled everything: discreet movers, a private security escort, and a full-time assistant named Clara, who managed the logistics with the efficiency of a military strategist. Mel tried to stay composed, but the whirlwind of change was dizzying. Liam, however, was thrilled. "You mean we get to live in a skyscraper?" he asked, eyes wide as they approached Nicholas's high-rise. "It's just for a while," Mel reminded him, squeezing his hand. But when the elevator doors opened into the penthouse, even Mel couldn't hide her awe. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city, and warm afternoon light bathed the open-concept living space in gold. Everything was sleek, modern, and impossibly clean. Nicholas met them at the door, dressed down in jeans and a sweater, trying his best not to look intimidating. "Welcome home. Temporary home," he clarified quickly, glancing at Mel. Liam rolled forward excitedly, taking in every detail. "Is that a movie room?" "Yes," Nicholas smiled. "And a piano, and a rooftop garden." Mel raised an eyebrow. "You play piano?" "Very badly," he admitted. "But Liam's welcome to try." Clara led Mel through the guest wing, 2 bedrooms, a private bath, and even a therapy space already prepped with Liam's equipment. Mel turned slowly, absorbing the thoughtfulness of it all. "You did this in 2 days?" "I had help," Nicholas said from the doorway. "I wanted it to feel like home for him." Mel nodded slowly. "It's more than I expected." That night, after Liam was tucked into his new bed and drifting off to sleep beneath a galaxy projector Nicholas had installed, Mel stepped out onto the balcony, seeking air. The city lights glittered below her, a galaxy of their own. Nicholas joined her a moment later, offering a mug of tea. "I thought you might need this." "Thanks," she said, taking it. "Still feels surreal." "I know." They stood in silence for a while, the wind soft around them. "You didn't have to do all this," she said finally. "Yes," he replied. "I did." Mel looked at him, truly looked. "You've changed. You're not the same man I remember." "I've had time to grow up," he said. "But truth is, I think I'm just now figuring out who I want to be." She sipped her tea. "And who's that?" He turned to her, voice quiet. "The kind of man who doesn't walk away this time." Their eyes locked, and something fragile and dangerous sparked between them. Hope, maybe. Or the ghost of something they once had. But before it could settle, a loud knock echoed through the penthouse. Nicholas frowned. "Security's not supposed to let anyone up unannounced." He moved to the door, checked the monitor, and froze. Mel set down her mug. "Who is it?" He turned slowly, face pale. "It's my lawyer, and he's not alone." He opened the door. Standing beside the lawyer was a stern woman holding a file folder. "Mr. Ward," she said, "you've been served. Petition for shared custody of Liam Carter." Mel's breath hitched. "What did you say?" The woman handed over the papers without flinching. "This is a formal petition filed with family court. Mr. Ward is seeking joint legal custody of Liam Carter." Mel's face drained of color. She turned to Nicholas, eyes wide. "You did this?" Nicholas looked as stunned as she did. "No, I didn't file anything. I swear, Mel, I had no idea." The lawyer cleared his throat awkwardly. "Actually, Mr. Ward, it appears your legal counsel filed on your behalf using preliminary documents signed during your initial inquiry. Your team took initiative, assuming—" "I didn't authorize this," Nicholas interrupted sharply. He turned back to Mel. "You have to believe me." But Mel was already stepping back, her hands shaking. "You said you wanted to do this my way. My way. And now you're going to a judge behind my back?" Nicholas moved toward her, desperate. "Mel, I didn't know. I would never go behind you. I wanted to earn your trust, not take him from you." "Is that what this is?" she snapped. "A strategic move, like some business deal?" "No," he said, agonized. "God, no." The lawyer stepped in, clearing his throat. "You have the right to contest the filing, Ms. Carter. It's just a petition at this stage. Nothing has been ruled." Mel turned to the woman who had served them. And who filed with him? Who pushed this forward? The woman hesitated. It was suggested by a third party, someone listed as a witness of character. Who? Mel demanded. The woman looked down at her form. Vanessa Reed. Mel's knees nearly buckled. Nicholas cursed under his breath. She did this. She manipulated the system. She made it look like I was pushing for control. Mel's voice shook with fury. And you gave her the ammunition, Nicholas. You opened the door. Even if you didn't intend to file, you trusted her with enough information that she could do this. Nicholas rubbed his face. You're right, you're absolutely right, and I'll fix it. I'll withdraw the petition immediately. But the damage had been done. Mel looked toward Liam's room, her protective instincts surging like wildfire. I let you into our lives, and now I have to defend my son in court? No, Nicholas said. I'll stop this. Tonight. Mel backed away. I need you to leave. Mel, leave. He stood there, stunned, his heart pounding. Then slowly he turned and walked to the door. As it clicked shut behind him, Mel sank into the couch, breath ragged. Liam stirred in the next room, murmuring in his sleep. She closed her eyes, clutched the custody papers to her chest, and began to cry. Outside the penthouse, Vanessa stepped into her black town car, her phone pressed to her ear. It's done, she said. Now we just sit back and let the mother fall apart. Morning arrived heavy with dread. Mel barely slept. Liam sensed the tension, though he said nothing, quietly watching cartoons with his dinosaurs lined up around him like a tiny army. Mel sat at the breakfast table, staring at the petition still folded neatly on the marble countertop. Her fingers ached from clenching and unclenching all night. She had spent years shielding Liam from threats, poverty, pain, abandonment. But this was betrayal in its cruelest form. Trust turned weapon. Nicholas called twice. She let it ring. He texted once. I'm with my lawyers. This will be withdrawn today. Please let me explain in person. She didn't respond. At 10 a.m., Clara, the assistant, knocked softly. Melody, there's someone in the lobby asking for you. She says she's your attorney. Mel blinked. I don't have... But then a woman in a crisp navy suit stepped forward from behind Clara. She had kind eyes and carried a weathered leather briefcase. Ms. Carter, my name is Evelyn Brooks. I was retained on your behalf this morning. All expenses covered. Mel frowned. By who? Evelyn smiled gently. By Nicholas Ward. But he specifically instructed me that I work for you, and that if you told me to walk away, I would. Mel's defenses stayed high. Why would he do that? Because he knows he made a mistake, and he's trying to make amends without overstepping again. Mel hesitated, then opened the door wider. Come in. They sat together as Evelyn reviewed the petition, explaining every line with care. This document was filed under a rarely used clause for emergency intervention. It implies concern for the child's environment, which Vanessa likely exaggerated. It was designed to look aggressive without directly attacking your credibility. Mel's mouth twisted. Classic Vanessa. But, Evelyn continued, we can respond proactively. File a counter motion for full custody with stipulations against third-party interference. We can also request an injunction against Ms. Reed. Mel looked at the papers again, then up at Evelyn. How fast can we file? By noon. Mel nodded. Do it. Meanwhile, in his downtown office, Nicholas stood before a wall of glass, watching clouds gather. His legal team moved like a pit crew, shredding, scanning, and filing withdrawal motions. His voice was hoarse from repeating the same thing. Fix it. Now. When Evelyn called him with Mel's counter-motion status, Nicholas felt a strange relief. She was fighting. That meant she wasn't giving up, on Liam or on protecting him, maybe even on trusting Nicholas again. Eventually. Later that evening, Mel sat beside Liam as he colored. He turned to her suddenly and asked, Are you mad at him? The dad guy? She didn't answer immediately. Then she said, I'm disappointed, but that doesn't mean I don't want him to do better. Liam considered that. He's trying. I know. A knock came at the door. Mel opened it cautiously. Nicholas stood there holding a small wrapped box. For Liam, he said, just a little peace offering. Mel eyed it, then him. What is it? He smiled weakly. A brand new T-Rex. But this one's unbreakable. Mel accepted the box cautiously and stepped aside without a word, allowing Nicholas to enter. He paused just inside the doorway, eyes sweeping over the space he hadn't seen since the petition fallout. Everything looked the same, but the warmth that had briefly begun to grow now hovered like a question mark in the air. Liam, still in his pajamas, perked up when he saw him. "Hey, you came back." Nicholas smiled, a real one, and walked over to kneel beside the boy. "I did. I brought something for you." Liam tore into the wrapping with eager fingers and gasped. The T-Rex was made of flexible composite, painted in rich detail, with movable limbs and a roar button that echoed low and realistic. "Whoa," he breathed. "It looks real." "It's supposed to survive anything," Nicholas said. "Even bedtime battles." Liam hugged the toy tight, then looked up. "Does this mean you're staying?" Mel watched the exchange, her chest tightening. She knelt beside them. "Sweetheart, Nicholas and I still need to talk about some things, grown-up things." Liam nodded solemnly. "Okay, but I hope he stays." Nicholas glanced at Mel, uncertain. She nodded toward the hallway. "Let's talk." In the small study with the door slightly ajar, she faced him. Her arms were crossed, her voice low. "You should have told me. The moment you found out what Vanessa was doing, you should have known that filing anything, even accidentally, would tear this apart." "I didn't realize my lawyers were taking initiative," Nicholas said, "and I underestimated her. I thought I'd cut her out completely, but she was still watching, still waiting to strike." Mel nodded. "She's dangerous." "I know," he said. "And I should have seen that sooner." They sat in silence, the weight of all they hadn't said pulling heavily between them. "I grew up not knowing my father," Nicholas said finally. "He left my mum when I was 5. I always told myself I'd never be like him. But when I lost you, when I didn't know about Liam, it felt like I'd failed before I even had the chance to try." Mel's voice softened, but it still held steel. "You're not your father, but you made mistakes. And being sorry doesn't fix everything." "I don't want to fix everything," he said. "I want to build something with both of you. But I'll follow your lead, Mel. I'll earn your trust one step at a time." She studied him for a long moment, looking for any hint of manipulation, any sign that this was a performance. But all she saw was a man who had been changed, by truth, by time, and by a little boy who danced without fear. "I'm not ready to trust you yet," she said finally. "I understand. But I'm willing to try, slowly," Nicholas nodded. "That's all I hoped for." Just then, Liam's voice echoed from the living room. "Mommy, look, he roars!" They both smiled. For the first time in days, the silence didn't feel broken. It felt like a beginning. Over the next week, a fragile rhythm began to form. Nicholas returned each evening, sometimes to help Liam with schoolwork, sometimes just to sit beside him on the floor, talking dinosaurs and dreams. He no longer came in suits but in jeans and sneakers, blending into the domestic life he'd never known he needed. Mel remained cautious. She watched everything. The way he listened, the way he waited, the way he never forced affection, but responded to it with tenderness when it came. Most of all, she watched Liam and how the boy lit up whenever Nicholas entered the room. On Wednesday, Nicholas showed up with takeout and a surprise. 3 matching t-shirts with a cartoon T. Rex wearing sunglasses. "Team Liam," they read. Liam squealed. "We match now." Mel raised an eyebrow, amused. "You're really leaning into the dino theme." Nicholas shrugged, smiling. It felt right. After dinner, as Liam watched a movie, Nicholas and Mel washed dishes side by side. The moment was unremarkable, quiet, domestic, but it hit Mel in a place she didn't expect. This was the life she'd imagined long ago, in a Philadelphia apartment too small for dreams. She'd thought it was gone forever. She handed Nicholas a plate, their fingers brushing. He looked at her, then spoke gently. "I've been thinking about therapy. Family counseling. Mel paused. For us? For me? For you? For Liam? Together? Or apart? However it works best. I know I've caused damage. I want to make sure I don't keep doing it. Mel dried her hands. That's a big step. I don't want to repeat patterns, he said. I want to understand what I missed, what you went through. And I want Liam to see two adults who don't just love him, but respect each other enough to heal. Mel nodded slowly, considering. I'll think about it. That night, after Nicholas left, Mel found Liam drawing at the kitchen table. He held up his sketchbook proudly. Look, Mommy, it's all of us. Me, you, and Nicholas. See, I made his T-Rex the biggest. She smiled faintly. That's because he's the newest. Liam shook his head. No, it's because he's the bravest. He keeps coming back. Mel swallowed hard, but not everyone was welcoming Nicholas's return. Vanessa sat in her upscale office across town, flipping through the surveillance photos her investigator had taken. Nicholas at Mel's apartment, Nicholas walking Liam to therapy, Nicholas laughing in a public park. A twisted smile formed on her lips. She picked up her phone and dialed. Yes, she said. Activate the fallback plan. I want everything ready by Monday. She thinks she's safe. Let's remind her. Who really holds power? Across the city, Nicholas stood in his penthouse, unaware of the storm about to hit. He looked out over the skyline, thinking of Mel's hesitant smile, of Liam's bright eyes, and of the fragile hope they were building. And somewhere deep inside, a chill whispered that their peace was borrowed time. Monday arrived with an eerie stillness. The sky was overcast, casting a grey hue over the city like a silent warning. Mel left early with Liam for his occupational therapy appointment, her routine exact, every moment accounted for. Nicholas had planned to meet them afterward for lunch, something simple at the park, as they'd done the week before. But the moment they stepped out of the therapy center, a man in a grey suit approached. Melody Carter. She tightened her grip on Liam's wheelchair. Yes? The man handed her a white envelope. You've been summoned. Family Services. Mel's chest tightened. What is this? The man walked away without another word. Inside the envelope was a notice of investigation. An anonymous report had been filed, claiming unsafe conditions for a child, lack of medical support, and unapproved custody arrangements with an alleged father of questionable intent. Mel's vision blurred. Liam looked up at her. Mommy? She swallowed her panic. It's okay, sweetheart. Let's go home. Nicholas arrived at the apartment 10 minutes later, greeted by silence and a trembling voice on the intercom. Come up, Mel said. Now. When he entered, she was pacing, the paper crumpled in her hand. She filed a report, Mel said without preamble. Vanessa, or someone she paid. I've been flagged for an emergency family investigation. Nicholas read the document, his face paling. She's escalating. She's trying to paint me as unstable, Mel snapped, and you as an intruder. Like this is all some chaotic custody mess. They could take him, Nicholas. They won't, he said immediately. You don't know that, she shouted. This system doesn't care that I've held everything together with spit and thread for years. It doesn't care that I've never let him miss a single medical appointment. One whisper, one accusation, and they can destroy everything. Nicholas stepped closer. We'll fight it. Together. Mel backed away, tears brimming. You say that now, but you don't live here. You don't know what they ask you, what they imply. They don't need facts, they just need fear. He was silent for a beat, then said, Then I'll move in. She looked at him, stunned. What? Let me move in. Make it real. Show them we're a unit, not a threat. Show them Liam has both parents. Mel was speechless. I'll sleep on the couch, or the floor. But I'll be here. I'll answer questions. I'll take meetings. I'll go through every interview and check in. I'm not letting you face this alone. She shook her head, voice breaking. This isn't your burden. It is now, he said. because you and Liam are my family, and I will not let them take either of you away." Before she could argue further, the phone rang. Mel answered. A cold voice responded, "This is Child Protective Services. We'll be arriving for your home evaluation in 2 hours." The next 2 hours were a whirlwind of frantic preparation. Mel scrubbed the apartment top to bottom, though it was already spotless. Nicholas helped reorganize Liam's medical records, setting up binders and prescriptions on the coffee table like an evidence display. He moved with purpose, no trace of panic, only a laser-focused resolve. Liam, sensing the tension, followed instructions quietly. He dressed himself in his favorite hoodie and jeans, brushed his hair without complaint, and even helped align his dinosaur figures on the windowsill. Mel wiped sweat from her brow and looked around. "It still looks like an apartment, not a home." Nicholas walked over, placing a hand on her shoulder. "It is a home, and they'll see that." She stared at him. "You're not afraid?" He shook his head. "I've built companies from scratch, fought billion-dollar lawsuits and argued in front of boards with blood on their teeth, but I've never been more ready to defend anything than I am to defend this." There was a knock at the door. Mel inhaled sharply. Nicholas opened it. 2 people entered, a stern woman in a grey blazer carrying a clipboard and a man with a laptop case. "Ms. Carter, Mr. Ward?" the woman asked. "We're here to conduct a welfare evaluation for the minor Liam Carter." "Come in," Mel said, her voice steady but guarded. They began the assessment with questions, dozens of them, about Liam's medical needs, educational accommodations, financial support, living conditions. The woman's pen scribbled constantly, her eyes darting from the form to the room and back again. Nicholas answered with polished grace when addressed. He explained his role in Liam's life carefully, without dramatics or exaggeration. "I only learned of my son recently," he said, "but I'm here now permanently. I've deferred projects, moved my legal team to handle family matters, and committed to co-parenting under Melody's terms. We are not adversaries. We are working together." The woman raised an eyebrow. "And your engagement to Ms. Vanessa Reed?" Nicholas's jaw tensed. "Terminated. Irreconcilable values." Mel added quietly, "She's the one who filed the anonymous report. We believe it was retaliatory." The man with the laptop nodded. "There's record of her being removed from a Ward Enterprises event. Also a restraining order filed last week," Nicholas confirmed. "Yes, she has shown a pattern of manipulation. I've submitted documentation to the court." Liam was interviewed next, gently, respectfully. He smiled and told them about school, his dinosaurs, and how Mommy makes the best cinnamon toast. When asked if he felt safe, he nodded confidently. "I'm not scared here, except when Mommy's mad at the laundry." The officials chuckled. Even Mel smiled briefly. After 2 tense hours, the woman closed her clipboard. "We'll need to file a full report," she said, standing. "But preliminarily, I see no cause for removal or further escalation. Liam is clearly loved, safe, and well cared for." Relief flooded the room like sunlight through storm clouds. As the door closed behind them, Mel collapsed onto the couch, burying her face in her hands. "We survived." Nicholas sat beside her. "No, you survived. I just followed your lead." But outside, hidden across the street, Vanessa watched with binoculars, her lips curled in a bitter sneer. "They passed," her assistant whispered. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Then it's time for Plan C." That night, the apartment felt different. Not lighter. Too much had happened for that, but steadier, as if the cracks that had threatened to split everything had been filled with something strong and quiet. After Liam fell asleep in his room, clutching his unbreakable T-Rex, Mel and Nicholas sat on the living room floor in silence, backs against the couch. Neither spoke for a long time. Then Nicholas said, "You were incredible today." Mel looked at him, tired but composed. "I was terrified." "But you didn't show it," he replied. "Not once." She rested her head back, staring at the ceiling. "I don't think I've had a moment to really feel anything. I've just been surviving." "You don't have to do that alone anymore," he said softly. "I don't know how not to," she admitted. Nicholas turned to face her. "Then we'll figure it out together." She met his eyes, and for the first time since everything had begun, her walls dropped. Not completely, but enough. "You're still sleeping on the couch," she said, her lips twitching into the ghost of a smile. He grinned. Wouldn't dare ask otherwise. They sat there, sharing the silence, until the hum of the city softened around them. But blocks away, Vanessa was on a mission. Inside a hotel suite lit with harsh artificial light, she stood over a table cluttered with papers, photos, and her laptop. Her assistant sat across from her, nervously sipping coffee. "I've tried the legal route," Vanessa muttered, flipping through a folder. "Didn't work, tried social services, still standing." The assistant swallowed. "What's plan C then?" Vanessa turned her laptop to reveal a paused video, grainy footage from a phone taken outside the courthouse weeks ago. In it, Mel is seen arguing with someone over a missed appointment. Her voice is raised, her face is tight with stress. "This," Vanessa said, "edited correctly, it looks like a woman unhinged. Like someone unstable. Add a few fake testimonials, a little background on her money struggles, the fact she's living with a man she once claimed abandoned her." "You're going to go public," the assistant whispered. Vanessa nodded. "I'm going to leak a story, a scandal, a concerned citizen piece on a high-powered CEO entangled with a single mother who's hiding mental instability." The assistant's voice was barely audible. "That could destroy them." Vanessa smiled, all teeth. "That's the point." She clicked the mouse and the video began to play. Back at the apartment, Mel and Nicholas were finally preparing for bed. Nicholas arranged his pillow on the couch, and Mel turned off the kitchen light. She paused at the hallway, looking at him one last time. "Thank you," she said softly. Nicholas looked up. "For what?" "For choosing this." He nodded, watching her disappear into the shadows. Neither of them knew that by morning, their faces and their story would be on every major gossip site in the city. The sun rose into chaos. Mel's phone buzzed endlessly on her nightstand, notifications pinging from every corner of the internet. Headlines screamed in bold text. "Scandal at the top. CEO Nicholas Ward's secret family revealed. Single mother or master manipulator." Inside the quiet storm around Ward Enterprises' Golden Boy exclusive footage, alleged breakdown of Melody Carter in custody drama. Mel stared at the screen in disbelief. Her face was everywhere, caught mid-argument, mid-expression, frozen in carefully selected frames that distorted truth into spectacle. Nicholas's name trended alongside hers, and worst of all, Liam's was starting to surface too. A knock came at the bedroom door. Nicholas, phone in hand, looked as pale as she felt. "It's gone viral." She sat on the edge of the bed, her hands shaking. "She actually did it." Nicholas nodded, jaw clenched. "Vanessa's behind this." "No doubt." Mel scrolled through an article, her stomach twisting with every fabricated source and twisted timeline. "They're saying I planned all this. That I targeted you. I'll call my PR team," Nicholas said. "We'll issue a cease and desist to every outlet, threaten lawsuits." "And what then?" Mel asked. "They'll just twist that too. Wealthy CEO silences struggling single mom's past. They'll say I'm unstable, hiding something, lying about Liam's needs." Nicholas sat beside her, his voice low but firm. "Then we go public, together. Tell the truth before she can bury it." Mel turned to him, eyes fierce. "I am not a story, Nicholas. Liam is not a headline." "I know," he said, "but the only way to take back control is to stop hiding. We show them what this really is, what we really are." She hesitated, her heart at war with itself. Nicholas added, "I won't speak without your consent, but I won't let her define our lives." By afternoon, the media vans arrived. They parked across the street, zoom lenses poking from tinted windows, reporters circling like sharks. Neighbors whispered. A drone buzzed overhead. The front door of their building became a flashpoint. Inside, Mel stood with Liam holding his hands. "Baby, listen to me. There are people outside saying things that aren't true." Liam looked up at her, unbothered. "Like when kids say dinosaurs were just big lizards?" Mel blinked, then laughed through the ache. Exactly like that. Nicholas approached with a tablet. There's an offer from Channel 9, Live segment. They'll give us full control of the narrative. One camera, one interviewer. No edits. Mel exhaled deeply. You really want to do this? I want to protect our son, he said. And the truth is, the only thing that can't be twisted. She nodded slowly, then turned to Liam. Would you be okay with people hearing your story? With them seeing who you are? Liam grinned. As long as I can wear my T-Rex shirt. Mel smiled through tears. Then let's do it. At 7 p.m., the interview went live. And the world watched as a quiet woman and a powerful man sat side by side, not as a scandal, not as a spectacle, but as a family. The camera panned in slowly. Mel sat upright, composed but clearly nervous, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Nicholas sat beside her in a dark button-down, shoulders squared but his gaze soft. Between them, in a small blue chair, was Liam, feet swinging, proudly wearing his Team Liam T-Rex shirt. The host, a calm, middle-aged woman named Dana Reeves, greeted the audience. Tonight we bring you the story behind the headlines. You've seen the photos, the speculation. But now, for the first time, Melody Carter and Nicholas Ward are here to tell you, in their own words, what really happened. Dana turned to Mel. Melody, how did all of this begin? Mel took a deep breath. 7 years ago, I met Nicholas during a charity initiative. We had a brief connection, and shortly after I found out I was pregnant, I tried to reach him, but I was blocked at every turn. I thought he'd chosen to disappear. Nicholas nodded. I didn't know. The woman I was with at the time, Vanessa, intercepted every message. I didn't learn I had a son until I saw Melody and Liam at a gala months ago. And what happened then? Dana asked. I wanted to know them, Nicholas said. I didn't want to take over. I wanted to earn a place. Slowly. Mel looked at him, her expression still cautious but no longer cold. It wasn't easy. I didn't trust him at first. I still have doubts. But I've seen him show up for Liam. Not just once, but every day. Dana leaned forward. And Liam? How has this been for you? Liam grinned. I got 2 T-Rexes now, and we dance a lot. He's not perfect, but he's trying. The audience chuckled warmly. Mel added, voice firm, I'm not a gold digger. I didn't seek out Nicholas for money or status. I've worked 3 jobs. I've fought for every therapy appointment, every school IEP meeting. And I won't let anyone question whether I'm a good mother again. Nicholas placed a hand gently on hers. She's not just a good mother. She's the strongest person I've ever met. Dana turned to the camera. There you have it. Not a scandal, not a scheme. Just people, flawed, honest, trying to build something real. As the segment ended, the studio lights dimmed and applause erupted. Backstage, Mel took a long, shaky breath. Nicholas handed her a bottle of water. You were incredible. I was terrified, she said. You didn't show it, he replied. Liam ran up and hugged her waist. We did it, Mommy. Yes, we did, she whispered, kissing his head. That night, as the interview replayed across networks, a shift began. Online sentiment changed. Support poured in, messages from other single parents, from people who'd grown up without fathers, from families who saw themselves in the Carter Ward story. But across the city, Vanessa watched the broadcast from a dark hotel room. Her eyes burned with fury, and beside her, her lawyer placed a thick file on the table. It's not over, she hissed, and she meant it. The next morning, the apartment was flooded with flowers, letters, and packages from strangers who had seen the interview. Messages of support poured in, people sharing their own stories, thanking Mel for her honesty, calling Liam an inspiration. Some sent books, toys, even custom-made dinosaur pillows with Team Liam embroidered on them. Liam was over the moon. Mommy, we're famous! Mel laughed as she opened another box. Let's not get used to it. Nicholas arrived late morning with breakfast and good news. The PR fallout is reversing. Investors are satisfied, and the board called off their emergency vote. Mel blinked. They were planning to remove you? Nicholas nodded. Some were panicking. Vanessa fed them a version of events that made me look unstable, but the interview, you, put that fire out. Mel exhaled, relief etched across her features. Nicholas stepped closer. There's something else. My legal team found evidence Vanessa paid a private investigator to tail you for weeks. Photos, recordings. That's enough to press criminal charges. Mel's smile faded. Will it stop her? Maybe, he said. But we should still be ready. As if summoned by his words, the door buzzer rang. Clara's voice came through the intercom. Mel, there's a man here. He says he's with the Department of Health and Family Services. Mel and Nicholas exchanged a glance. Nicholas pressed the button. Send him up. The man arrived with a badge and a clipboard. I'm here on a formal complaint. Allegations have been raised about Liam's access to adequate therapy and potential delays in required treatment due to recent media distractions. Mel's jaw tightened. That's a lie. I believe you, the man said kindly. But we're obligated to follow up. He conducted a polite but thorough interview, took notes and checked Liam's medical records. By the end, he looked mildly apologetic. Everything here seems more than adequate. In fact, it's impressive. We'll file the report as unfounded. When he left, Mel sank into the couch. She's not going to stop. She's desperate, Nicholas said. That's when people make mistakes. Later that afternoon, Nicholas's assistant rushed into his office, waving a manila envelope. This just arrived. No return address. You need to see it. Inside were a dozen printed photos. Nicholas's heart sank. One showed Mel crying beside Liam's hospital bed, taken without her knowledge. Another was from a distance through their apartment window, catching her mid-argument with a caseworker. A note was clipped to the top. You can't save someone who keeps breaking. Watch her fall. Again. Nicholas's hands shook. This wasn't just personal anymore, it was warfare. That evening, as Mel bathed Liam and read him a story, Nicholas stood on the balcony, staring into the city night. His jaw was set, his mind made up. When Mel joined him, drying her hands, she asked, "What's wrong?" He looked at her, deadly calm. "I'm going to destroy her." Mel stepped back, startled. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm done playing defense." For the first time, she saw not just a father, but the titan of industry he'd once buried. And Vanessa had no idea what was coming. Nicholas acted quickly. By the following morning, a high-level task force of private investigators, legal strategists and cybersecurity experts had been assembled in his boardroom. His instructions were precise. Uncover everything. Financial records, hidden contacts, burner phones, whatever Vanessa's been using to orchestrate this. Within hours, they discovered a trail. Vanessa had funneled money through an anonymous shell company to pay for the PI who'd stalked Mel, and she'd made under-the-table payments to gossip columnists, incentivizing them to push false stories faster. She even had a side agreement with a minor judge to stall legal motions, an ethics violation that could end careers. Nicholas stared at the wall of evidence, stone-faced. Send everything to the district attorney, and make sure the press gets it. In one coordinated release. Meanwhile, Mel kept Liam's routine steady, shielding him from the brewing storm. She remained focused. School, therapy, story time. But her mind stayed with Nicholas, wondering what exactly he'd meant by destroy. That evening, he returned, quiet and unreadable. Mel pulled him aside as Liam finished a coloring book. "What did you do?" she asked. He met her gaze. "I gave her enough rope. Now she's hanging herself." Mel's brows furrowed. "You're using your company, your name, your reach. What if she flips it again, says you're abusing power to punish a woman?" Nicholas nodded. "That's why I'm not the one making the statement." "What?" He handed her a press release draft. It was signed not by Nicholas Ward, but by a women-led legal foundation he'd partnered with discreetly. They were the ones pressing charges against Vanessa, representing Mel's interests pro bono and filing a defamation case on Mel's behalf. "You let them take the lead?" Mel asked, stunned. "She tried to break you publicly," he said. "Now the public will watch her fall. without you having to lift a finger. Mel stared at him for a long time. You're not the man I thought you were. I know, he said quietly. No, she added, voice thick. You're better. That night, the coordinated story broke across all major news outlets. Whistleblower exposes campaign of harassment by Vanessa Reed. Evidence points to illegal surveillance, witness tampering, and defamation scheme. Single mother targeted in smear campaign fights back with legal action. The footage of Mel arguing outside the courthouse, proven to be doctored. The sources quoted in previous articles, all paid by a third-party PR firm now tied to Vanessa's shell company. The internet turned again, this time in Mel's favor. Nicholas sat beside her on the couch as she scrolled, hand over her mouth. People are apologizing, she whispered. They're apologizing to me. Liam ran into the room, holding his latest drawing, a dinosaur with a cape. I named him Justice Saurus, he said proudly. Mel and Nicholas both laughed, tears in their eyes, but in a small, cold office downtown, Vanessa Reed sat behind a desk, her career in flames, her name blacklisted. And on her desk, one last envelope remained, sealed, labeled, "For release if I disappear." She stared at it, breathing heavily, then picked up her phone. I'm not done. The following days passed in a strange, electric calm, like the city itself was holding its breath. Vanessa had gone silent. No posts, no statements, no retaliation, but Nicholas didn't trust silence. He doubled security around Mel's building. A driver was assigned to Liam's school routes. Even Clara was instructed to monitor incoming calls and packages. Mel, for her part, tried to move forward. She met with the legal foundation, gave her testimony, and signed off on public interviews, but insisted they center on families, resilience, not scandal. This isn't about vengeance, she told them. It's about truth. Nicholas watched her speak from the back of the room. Every time she opened her mouth, she reclaimed her narrative, her dignity. And something else began to grow between them, quiet, cautious, but unmistakable. One evening, after Liam had fallen asleep mid-cartoon, Nicholas helped Mel tidy the kitchen. She handed him a towel and said, without looking up, "Do you ever think this was supposed to happen?" Nicholas dried a glass, thoughtful. "You mean us?" She nodded. "Not the pain, not the drama, just this. You, him, me. Some kind of messy miracle." He leaned against the counter, watching her carefully. "I used to believe I could control everything, build it, buy it, plan it, but none of those things gave me what I have now." Mel smiled softly. "And what do you have now?" He stepped forward. "A reason to fight that isn't profit, a family, and maybe, if you'll let me, a second chance." She looked up, something tender in her expression. "You already got that, Nicholas. Now it's just about not wasting it." They stood in silence, closer than they had ever been without touching. Suddenly, Nicholas's phone buzzed on the counter. He checked the screen, his face shifting as he read. "It's from my legal team. They found something." He tapped to open the secure message. His eyes scanned it quickly, then widened. Mel stepped beside him. "What is it?" He turned the phone so she could read. It was a scanned letter, part of Vanessa's emergency "release if I disappear" envelope. It hadn't been leaked yet, but someone inside her team had forwarded it as a final warning. It read, "If you're reading this, then Nicholas Ward has done to me what he did to my father. Years ago, Ward Enterprises crushed our family business. He buried my father's name and erased our legacy. Everything I've done, everything I've become, was to take back what was stolen. He took my future, so I tried to take his. Tell the world." Mel stepped back, stunned. "She thinks you ruined her family." Nicholas nodded slowly. "I never knew who she was. Never even connected the name. Her father's company failed after a buyout I oversaw in my 20s. It wasn't personal, but to her it defined everything." Mel's voice was hushed. "She built her life around revenge." Nicholas looked down at the screen and then said quietly, "Which means she's not finished yet." Across the city, In a tiny motel room under a fake name, Vanessa stood before a mirror, cutting her hair short and red. She smiled at her reflection, a new identity forming, and whispered, "Time for Act 2."